All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our presentation today. Um, Today, we are covering empowering your child to be a strong self-advocate. So I appreciate you joining us. I wanted to share a little bit about Family Matters and what we do, what kind of services we offer. So there's at least one parent center in every state. In Illinois, there are two federally funded parent training and information centers. So in Illinois, we have Family Matters, and here at Family Matters, we cover 94 Illinois counties. There's also FRCD, or Family Resource Center on Disabilities, and they cover the Chicago region. So both FRCD and Family Matters are happy to assist you. If you want to know more about, which parent center serves you or need contact information, don't hesitate to reach out. Here at Family Matters, we provide disability and special education advocacy. We provide an educational advocacy parent helpline. And we also offer trainings for parents and professionals related to special education or disability related topics. We also offer school record reviews. We have an educational surrogacy program as well as a COMPASS program. So if you want more information on any of our services, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our contact information and my personal or work email will be listed toward the end of this presentation, so you'll have that information. I do want to say Family Matters is not a legal services agency and cannot provide legal advice or legal representation. So any information received from Family Matters, including today's presentation, is not intended as legal advice and should not be used as a substitution for legal advice. Given that this is a 30-minute message, we will not have time to take questions, but again, contact information will be provided. So, if you have specific questions about today's presentation, don't hesitate to reach out. And if you have questions that more individualized questions that you want answered, again, reach out to us. Okay, so today's goals are, we hope that you take away when you leave this webinar, you will have an understanding of self-advocacy. You'll be able to identify areas to approach the increase of self-advocacy skills in the home, school, and community settings. And also, you'll be able to identify ways to incorporate technology into building self-advocacy and independence, and also that you will be prepared to assist your child or student in building self-advocacy skills. So I think it's important to understand what an advocate is. An advocate, according to the dictionary, is one who pleads the cause of another. So it's speaking up on behalf of another is just what an advocate is. So a self-advocate is someone speaking up on behalf of themselves. And so a self-advocate would be somebody who knows what they want, knows what they need, and knows how to go about getting that. And so those are skills that you want to build when trying to build those self-advocacy skills in your child or student. And self-advocacy is really important for so many reasons. A self-advocate is somebody who makes their own decisions or can make their own decisions. Self-advocacy helps increase self-confidence and self-respect. It builds allies. It builds kind of a community of, working together. Self-advocacy helps a student or a person with a disability learn to properly express needs to achieve goals. So students have IEPs and they have goals written in their IEPs. The more a student knows about their disability and diagnosis, the more they would be able to properly express their needs and have input in building those goals and know kind of where they're at and where they need to get to build those goals. Self-advocacy also promotes teamwork, and teamwork is very important in life. We're always working with somebody, and so having those teamwork skills is important. Self-advocacy can also build conflict resolution skills and problem-solving skills. So those are some reasons why self-advocacy is so important. Another reason is that self-advocacy reduces or decreases vulnerability. The more independence you build, a student builds, the less vulnerable they are. And there's, many different probably articles and research out there to kind of back this up. So I think sometimes when you're thinking about helping your child build self-advocacy skills, it can be hard to think about, where do I start? It can seem like a big process, because if your child, at any age, when you're looking at where they are and thinking about where, if you're looking at the bigger picture into the future and thinking about all the steps they may need to take and that you need to take to help them get from point A to point B, um, it can be overwhelming to think, like, where do I start? But I think it's important to really just start small. Um, and you might look at something like the um, the Illinois Learning Standards from the Illinois State Board of Education. So there are different standards, and we can send out this link as a resource. But the Illinois Learning Standards establish expectations for what all students should know and be able to do in each subject to each grade. So those would be a good place to start and say, looking at the standards for that child's grade level, are they doing these things currently? If not, you could go back a grade or however and look and see, where do we need to start at and what skills do we need to build to try to close that gap between where they are and where we want them to be. And again, you want to, start small. It can be overwhelming trying to think again of, you know, where do we start? You don't have to do it all at once, kind of pick some things and maybe even talk to your child to see, what are some things that you want to work on. And I think it's also important to remember, it's never too early to start, but it's also never too late to start. So sometimes you might think, oh, this is something I should have been doing for a long time. I would say, don't try not to be too hard on yourself. It's never too late to start working on those skills. And also begin with the end in mind. Like we talked about a little bit already, you want to think about, where do you see them down the road? What is your end goal and how do you work towards that? So if your child's in, kindergarten or second grade, thinking about, where do you see them when they're an adult? What's your dream or your goal for them? Or as they get older, asking them, what's their goal or dream for after high school or during high school? Where do they see themselves living, working? Do they see themselves continuing education after high school? But kind of begin with that end in mind and think about that. Really helps you look at where they are now and kind of what goals may be appropriate in their IEP. So, another thing is looking at, where can you help your child practice and learn to build those self-advocacy skills? So there are a lot of different places that can be. You can practice self-advocacy skills in the home. You can do that in school or in the community. So promoting self-advocacy at home, you can, let your child make choices. Sometimes for the sake of time, it's easier to pick things out for your child to wear or help them with certain things, but giving choices helps them start making decisions about, what do I want to wear? What do I want to eat? Making choices about clothing may help them start thinking about the weather. It's cold outside today, I need a coat, things like that, rather than just being told to do it. So given choices, can be helpful and start building those foundational skills. Also, another thing would be checklist. Maybe if they have responsibilities at home, can you give a checklist where they can mark off? It helps them to come back to that checklist and look at, what have I done? What do I still need to do? And it's kind of a visual. I've even seen where people will, if a student or a child has daily responsibilities, that maybe you make a calendar or a daily or weekly calendar and frame it in a photo frame and use a dry erase marker so that they can reuse it every day and then just erase it off. So that would be one idea, rather than creating a new checklist or having to print off multiple. Phones and devices are another way that you can work on self-advocacy skills at home. Maybe if a student takes medication, daily. If they take it once or twice a day, you could think about setting alarms, helping them set an alarm, learn how to use that phone to set alarms for reminders, and then they can do that independently, helping to remind them maybe when a medication needs reordered through the pharmacy, or even using a speech to text or Siri or something like that to set reminders of appointments that are coming up and add those into their calendars. There's a lot of different ways to use technology. I mean, technology is at our fingertips now, so really kind of the sky's the limit with using technology and phones and devices to build that self-advocacy, those self-advocacy skills. Another way, again, giving options for food. Sometimes that doesn't work out, but maybe when you're meal planning or something, asking them, what do you want to eat over the next week? We're going to be grocery shopping. Involve them in menu planning and grocery shopping and making choices about what food will be available, even involving them in the kitchen with cooking. Things like that can build self-advocacy skills at home. And again, they're making choices and having to think through the process of, you know, if you're including them in the menu, building a menu for the week, then they have to think through what they may want to eat or help learn to cook. And even, buying the groceries and things like that, they have to kind of learn to navigate the grocery store and budget and things like that. Hygiene's another place where you can build self-advocacy skills, trying to maybe get a schedule for when you shower, your routine of how you take care of things, is another area that, skills can be built in. And laundry is another one. So, do they know how to do their own laundry or separate laundry out? There's a lot of steps to taking care of laundry. So, do they identify, like, I'm running out of pants to wear or shirts, my closet's getting kind of bare. Oh, I might need to do laundry. So you could do something like a visual schedule or something to say, for washing clothes, this is how you would use the washing machine. You only need this much detergent. And then you need to close the lid and set these buttons. So you might, take pictures of your washing machine at home and make a visual that you could put up on your washer or somewhere in your laundry room or something like that to show what settings the washer needs to be at and how to start it and all of that. And, if they get to the point where they're doing that independently, you can phase that out. But that might be, just one helpful idea. Another thing would be using a dryer. So once laundry's done, it goes in the dryer. Did they check the lint trap? Do they understand how to do that? Know how to navigate that? So again, there's a visual schedule there, or to show just kind of how you do this step by step. And then again, do you remember to put a dryer sheet in? What time do you have to have the dryer set at, and what heat? And don't forget to start it, kind of thing. So, and again, those can get phased out after, they get to the point where they don't need that. Another way to build self-advocacy skills, I mean, there's so much use with internet anymore. So, you can access it on your phone, your computers, your tablets, a lot of things use internet. So does this child understand internet safety? What are some skills you can teach them to start building self-advocacy skills? Do they understand if they're doing Facebook? Do they understand that stuff you put on there, can stay on there, that there are privacy settings, that you don't just accept friend requests from, anyone and everyone, those kinds of things. So really looking at, do they know what kind of information not to put on the internet, and how to be safe and not just accepting friends or assuming people are who they say they are. So, just kind of working on those skills and building that foundation can make them more independent. Another way is money management. Again, we kind of talked about that with like budgeting for grocery shopping, things like that. So money management, personal information, talking about those things can be helpful. There are different courses that might be available to kind of help a student understand money management and how, not to just disclose all of their personal information um, publicly. So, looking at, are there financial classes that they can take or information that would help them build those skills and have more of an understanding of the importance of that. Staying home alone is another one. If you feel like you're trying to build your child up to that point of staying home alone, you can think about, do they understand, do they know their address? Do they know their phone number? Do they know how to call 911 or have emergency contacts to get a hold of in case they have questions or concerns or an emergency pops up? Thinking about safety tips of, what's off limits when you're home alone, as far as, can you use a stove or should you use a microwave? Things like that are something you want to think about, but those are skills that you can build. Can they make a small meal alone? Do they need something prepared that they can just pull out of the refrigerator that they could help prepare to eat when they're home alone? So again, it's just really looking at, if that's something that you're working toward, how do we build those skills and ensure safety? So those are just some things that you could think about at home. And we'd love to hear your ideas too. If you have some, you can definitely reach out to us. Promoting self-advocacy at school is another way to address and build those foundational skills. And so participating in IEP meetings is one way that is helpful in building self-advocacy skills. So the IEP meeting is all about that student. So if they're participating in that meeting, it's important for them to understand that IEP, that they have an IEP, what their diagnosis is, be able to maybe talk about their goals, what's helping them, what's not. So those are some self-advocacy skills that they could really practice in an IEP meeting. I think we have an archive training on student-led IEPs. So, or we have one coming up possibly. And so that would be, helpful to think about, how could they lead their IEP meeting? And that would give them practice in using those self-advocacy skills and building them. So there are some questions that you can consider asking your child before an IEP meeting, kind of like, what do you want to learn to work on this year? Or what are your concerns for the school year? How do you learn best? What do you think helps you learn best? So those are things that might kind of help build that discussion and help them think of things that they want to share in an IEP meeting and advocate for themselves. If they're interested in art, they may want to talk to their IEP team about working on taking an art class. What's available? Can that fit into my schedule? What are some concerns if something's not working for them or they're struggling with in a certain class? Maybe ask them, is there a certain accommodation that would help you? What do you find helpful right now? What do you think could help you with what you're struggling with in math class? Also, promoting self-advocacy in the community is another way to work on building these skills and raising a strong self-advocate. So, there are a lot of different activities in the community. So there are all types of, you can be involved in your local library, maybe your park district. What kind of activities are they involved in? They might participate in some type of gaming event or, something like that. So just being involved in your community and kind of navigating, knowing what is available in your community to participate in, that could be a form of, advocating for themselves. So understanding that maybe your library offers a book club or something monthly. If they know about that, maybe they need to say, I need a ride to that. I'd really like to go to that. Just kind of knowing what's out there and knowing how to access that information could build their advocacy skills and also, again, build their allies and their community of people that, they know and have common interests with. So, Also, appointments. We all have appointments that we have to schedule and keep. Learning how to navigate scheduling appointments. You might be able to do that online or by phone, but working on, scheduling and keeping track of their own appointments. Do they have a calendar? Like, does a paper calendar work for them? Again, using your phone to keep track of appointments and reminders for appointments. And then you can even take it a step further. If they have a doctor's appointment, maybe look at asking them or helping them with a list of questions prior to the appointment. Do they have questions that they want to get answered during that appointment? Do they need medication refills? Those are things. Maybe they could go into the doctor's appointment with a list. They could put it in the notes on their phone and say, hey, I have these questions while we're here. Can you help me navigate these things with their doctor? And then again, we've kind of talked about shopping, but do they go grocery shopping? Do they keep track of the things that they need, supplies they need to buy? Are they running out of shampoo? Do they know to tell you to put that on a list, or can they create a list of their own, and do they know how to budget? If they don't have income, maybe giving them a small amount of money to budget and buy certain things would help build those skills of, navigating the whole shopping process, from finding what you need and going to the checkout and interacting with the cashier and making change and all of that. You work on a lot of different skills in that process. Another thing is restaurants, letting them navigate the menu and ordering on their own. Again, there's a lot of skills you can work on at a restaurant: social skills, communication, even budgeting and money. If I have this much money, what can I buy off the menu type of thing. So there are ways to incorporate self-advocacy skills there. Volunteer work or jobs. So, if your student is interested in, books and helping out at the library, you could look and see if your child's a youth, is there a volunteer option somewhere in the community where they could help and get some experience working on their own. And they're working with other people, working on building relationships, following directions, completing tasks that are asked of them. And that could even go for jobs as well. So some other tips we have would be to, just continue to look for new ways to build independence. I think sometimes as a parent, if you find that you're doing things for your child, could they do that on their own? Is that something that you could phase out of and look for more ways to build that independence? You could also, make sure to celebrate accomplishments no matter how small. If your child or student has achieved something, celebrate that. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment, and it's just nice to celebrate every little accomplishment. It's one step in the direction and in the right direction, or the direction you want to go, and they're making progress. So, celebrating that and just saying, hey, you did a great job now, and then you can take a step forward and think, what could we move on to next? They've accomplished that. Take a step back. Sometimes, like I said, it can be easy to step in and do things for your child because maybe it's quicker and easier. But taking a step back and letting them do that themselves is helpful. And then let your child know that you don't always succeed on the first try. I think that's really important. We all struggle with something, or sometimes we think something will be easy and, we may fail it at the first time or struggle with it. But then, don't just give up, try again. So if they struggle with something like a certain task and they just get really frustrated and just want to give up, just say, okay, let's think about that. How could we address that differently? Or, is there something that would help make that easier for you? So like maybe if they struggle to open bottles, like drink bottles or something, and it's just something they've tried and maybe don't have the hand strength, is there a bottle opener they could use? They're going to be independent using that tool. They don't need to rely on you to do it, but you found a tool that makes them independent. So you show them, like, let's not give up, let's problem solve and figure out how to make this work. So again, encourage them not to give up, and then help if they ask. I guess like sometimes we as parents or caregivers can jump in and try to help. Sometimes I try to just not assume that help is needed, or if you see them struggling, ask if they need help. They may tell you, no, I'm good, or yeah, go ahead and help me, or they may just ask you for help without you having to ask. So one resource I wanted to share with you was the Illinois Assistive Technology Program. Their website's included on the slide, and they have a lot of different resources that might be helpful if you're looking at how to accommodate a student's needs or a child's needs. They have a lot of different devices and loan programs that could be helpful. And then another resource is the Illinois Self-Advocacy Alliance. You can check out their website for resources and different videos from self-advocates. So that would be another great resource to check out. We can send all of these resources to you after today's presentation. Our contact information is on this page. So if you need to reach out to us about today's presentation, or if you want some individual assistance, more specific to your own child, do not hesitate to reach out to us. My contact information is here, kpotter@fmptic.org. So if you want to email me directly, feel free to do so. I appreciate you taking time to join us today, and I will say that this webinar will be archived on our website, so you will be able to review that probably early next week. It'll get posted, and then you will get a survey after today's presentation. So please, we ask you to just go ahead and fill that out and give us any feedback. We appreciate all of that. Let us know what future topics you may want to hear about, and just keep checking our website at fmptic.org for upcoming trainings.